Slow. Good morning and welcome to Social Media Breakfast of Houston. Thank you, Abigail, for being here today. We're going to be talking about how to do influencer research and or influencer outreach. And I'm going to say this has changed a lot in the last, time since we started to decide to do this. So we decided to have this conversation well before any of this had occurred. And we had some great conversations about it. But there's been a lot of changes, right? And I'm going to introduce you to Abigail here first. I guess I should say that she runs a influencer program for blinds.com, and they've been having really good success with that influencer program. How long have you guys been running that now? It's been a while.
So about 7 years.
Yeah. So she's a veteran at working with influencers and kind of that whole area. So tell us a little bit about like how things have changed in the last maybe month or two with your influencer program.
Yeah, obviously everybody who works in marketing has had to shift messaging because, telling people to go into stores or to, for us, have measure and installation pros come to your house, that doesn't make sense today. So our program, some of the big things, like I said, we had launched this measure and install program where instead of putting up your blinds yourself, you could have a pro come do it. So we had to have people that had already gone through that process kind of put caveats on, the Instagram stories they were putting out, documenting their experience with us and say, this was filmed before social distancing. The other thing, because of Houston city ordinances, our samples department closed. So with blinds.com, you can order fabric samples or color samples. So we didn't have our influencers talk about that anymore. Anyway, so a lot of changes. Overall, we shifted from heavy sales marketing. We paused all of that and, changed a lot of our content to be, just more relevant to what's going on now, people staying home. So we can go into that more later, but a lot of changes for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's been an interesting thing for all of us is that pivot part, right? How do we pivot from one thing to another?
Right.
But you are saying that sales really are actually up though, even so, right?
Yeah, it's exciting. I think for those of you that are in the home decor, home improvement space with your marketing or just have been paying attention to that, because people are home, they either have the time or, they're just staring at their room that they've been meaning to work on or, the sidewalk they've been meaning to power wash and are getting it done while they're home. So, we're seeing tons of traffic, tons of activity. And also we're very lucky to have been set up as an e-commerce company anyway. That's zero contact. So we're very blessed with that. I know a lot of other organizations are having to make even harder pivots to store pickup, to curbside, to, rolling out e-commerce for the first time. So certainly a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah, and Home Depot owns you, right? So you're owned by Home Depot. Mm-hmm. So they really are an open. I mean, they've been open this whole time because they're considered essential, right?
Right.
So how are they handling like that social distancing part with like the store? And do you know any of that information?
Yeah, I don't have all the nitty gritty details on every single thing they're doing, but I know they were already rolling out. What they call BOPUS. I don't know if other people use that term, but buy online, pick up in store, which is the silliest
I haven't heard that. That's cool. I like that though.
Yeah. So that's where you can pick it up at the customer service counter or in the lockers. So obviously that's much more emphasized now. They have the social distancing stickers on the floor like you're seeing in grocery stores. And they had already rolled out I don't know if you've seen the new self-checkout systems in Home Depots, if the one closest to you has been remodeled recently, but that's obviously a lot better for this current situation. But within 2 weeks, they got curbside up and running. So it's really incredible. I don't know if you guys have used it. I've used it several times because my husband is working on all the projects in our house over the last couple of weeks. But yeah, it's been really interesting. And so from, just a little contrast in kind of the marketing influencer world, Home Depot's approach was to basically pause all marketing messages because they were an essential business. They didn't want to be seen as marketing, grills and all this stuff that's not essential right now.
Yeah.
So they really took a conservative approach. When we look at Lowe's, they, not to say what Lowe's did was wrong, but it's just a totally different approach. They, with influencers, rolled out this Build Thanks campaign where they had influencers put thank you signs in their yard to say thank you to essential workers, which I think is really neat. It's a feel good approach, but they did get some heat for kind of indirectly encouraging people to go to the store to get supplies for these signs.
Well, I mean, nothing against it. I mean, I don't know the difference between the two, but like we have two in our neighborhood, and Lowe's is in our neighborhood. It's like not too far, but I've never seen so many cars there in my life.
Oh, it's the same at Home Depot. Yeah, I mean, I think for the people that are, stuck at home, it's one of the few places that they can go, or, few projects that they can work on. So not to say that you should just go to walk around, obviously. But yeah, I think we're seeing a huge surge in home improvement right now.
Yeah, I think it's a huge market at the moment. I was thinking about, getting help online too. Cause I mean, if you're measuring and stuff, it would be also good to have like somebody just watch you and say, oh, don't forget, or I don't know, or walk you step by step through how to do it.
Right.
That would be
that's
good.
where I think just having a robust content marketing strategy overall is so helpful. Having those video guides or,
Right.
written instructions online, not just, if you have an in-store presence, not just relying on that because more people are shopping online anyway. I've seen reports that this crisis is going to fast forward the penetration of e-commerce shopping by 5 years.
Wow. That's a lot.
And we've seen it with people that haven't done curbside or haven't shopped online before. They've been pushed to do that sooner than they would have. And I'm sure they'll continue to do that more than they did before.
Well, they'll be comfortable with it. It's just like all the things that we do that we wouldn't have done, like me playing around with like the live streaming stuff in front, and which, by the way, I don't think worked, but I don't know. We'll figure out where that went. But having those moments to like push through your like discomfort or not understanding something, and then you get comfortable with it, and then maybe later on, I mean, you'll go back probably to the store some, but maybe sometimes you won't because it's like, hey, I can do this online and it saves me so much time.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So let's go back to the influencer program a little bit because I want to talk to you a little bit about how you work with influencers. Do you pay them? How do you work with them? How do you find them? So let's start with, how do you find your influencers?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple different ways. If you're starting a program from scratch or if you're just vetting people who approach you, I know, just to give a little bit of history of our program, we started off with, 7 or 10 years ago, we had a brand ambassador program, and influencers evolved so much over the years. At that time, we were basically begging small time mom bloggers to talk about us, like sending them personalized email newsletters about our new products. Like, so much work went into it, and then we were just hoping that they would talk about us on their blog.
Right.
From there, we kind of scaled back our efforts on our side, and as we were working with people, word gradually got out to their networks of other bloggers and influencers that we worked with, partners, or that, we were somebody that was good to work with. And slightly bigger and bigger partners started approaching us. And so then, as you guys have all seen this, the world transitioned from people going to blogs to read them to now influencers, mostly centered around Instagram, around YouTube, Snapchat, TikTok obviously are popping up today, but the blog isn't the hub anymore. Social media is the hub. And so rather than trying to get these long form reviews of our products, we transitioned to getting that social exposure. And now people have been trained to, swipe up on somebody's story and purchase right from Instagram, or at least think about a purchase. I know for us, it's a higher dollar amount. So a lot of times we don't see that purchase on the initial click, but maybe later on. Anyway, so all that to say, at the beginning, we're either begging people to talk about us or we were seeing people start to approach us. But then in the last 3 years, we had seen a lot of success with influencers and wanted to scale the program. And so we brought on an influencer agency. The one we work with in particular is called Aspire IQ, but there's a bunch out there. If you're looking to get some support with influencer, you can do your research and see which one's the best fit for you. But that allowed us to not just take the people that were DMing us and say, hey, I'm doing a room. Will you give me free blinds? And we were actually seeking out people that we saw were a good fit if we wanted to go into a certain demographic or go, test a different niche or a different platform. We're able to be a lot more strategic. But just as far as how to know if someone's a good fit for you, part of it is a test and learn, where as you work with some people, you'll just see like what, for us, what style of homes resonate with our customers, what age demographic seems to work with us. But you'll kind of start to get an eye for the quality of photos, the quality of content. Like for me, I always scan somebody's Instagram page to see, do their photos look good? For us, is their house nice looking, or like, is it, cluttered and not something that we would want to reshare a photo of? And then looking at what kind of engagement they get on their photos. The other thing that's a big turnoff for me is when I see that every single post in their feed is a sponsored post of them holding like, this juice drink or this cleaning product. It just kind of comes off as salesy.
Yeah.
So,
well, because you're looking more at lifestyle versus like consumer product. So that's the other thing about influencers. They kind of span the you want them to be the right fit for your brand, right? So, if you're a consumer product, maybe so, maybe not, but some people do that better than others too. Some people do consumer product a little bit better and lifestyle than others. So.
And it's not even that somebody does consumer product reviews. It's just like, if I'm seeing the proportion of sponsored posts versus organic is off. I want to see that their followers, they're actually engaging with stuff and not thinking, oh, I'm going to unfollow them because everything they do is paid.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I do, and maybe this is just me, but I always scan through and see if they've worked with a competitor in the last year. Like I'm going through and kind of doing some internet stalking of what windows do they already have blinds in? Have they tagged another brand? And like, if it was 2 years ago, it is what it is. But like we had somebody approach us to work with us and literally the week before had just posted about one of our direct competitors. And I was like, sorry, you look great, but we need some more space before you're going to, it just comes off as inauthentic if they're.
Tell us in a year or two.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
that's interesting. Yeah. And so how you find them through the Inspire IQ, which is a platform. So that's where you can go in and do you pay them through that? And like, how do you manage that?
Right. So, Aspire IQ, I'd encourage you guys to take a look at it. It's really great because it can be used as a self-service tool where you just use it as a database to find people. You can track your partnerships with people. You can pay them through the platform. So it's really great for self-service. We're using it as an agency where we have a rep that does all of that for us just because we were at a scale where we were ready to outsource it a little bit. But yes, we pay 90% of the people we work with. Occasionally, because our product, if we're doing one room for somebody, it could be $1,200 worth of product. And for some people, that's worth it to just take the product as payment versus getting, a sponsorship fee as well. Mm-hmm. But I think overall, it takes a lot of work for these influencers to create this content. They're trying to, feed their families too. So I think the majority of the time, the ethical thing to do is pay people. And that's the expectation a lot anyway.
I agree with that, and in large part. And I didn't, I came from a PR background. So, there was that hesitation, I feel like, to pay them. And I understand that. But it's like hiring a consultant. I mean, in large part, you are, especially if you have it set up so that they are very importantly, disclosing that they're working with you and who you are and like tagging things with the ad tag and stuff. So that's really important part of it. But as far as payment, like if you had to start over again today, like you were going from scratch and you didn't have Aspire, what would you do?
Yeah. So, I mean, before we had them, we a lot of times were just tracking our campaigns through Google Docs. I mean, if somebody's starting from scratch, I think the biggest thing that you can do is start sharing customer photos in your Instagram feed, just to show, even if it's not sponsored, just to show, hey, we're working with creators or we're acknowledging people. And you can start to look through people who've tagged you in photos and see, do any of them have a bigger following? Or is someone slightly influential already talking about you? That's a great person to start with. Somebody that's already a super fan, even if they're smaller, even if they're like, 5,000 followers on Instagram, that could be a great first partner that's still going to get you some reach. And kind of like I said with our start, just kind of getting the word out that you work with influencers and starting to run campaigns with people, and then you reshare it on your platforms is going to help other people who may be following you or maybe following that person to see who, who's interested in working with you. And as you do that, I think that, we get a lot of our requests through Instagram DMs. That's why I think it's just so important to be active on Instagram and share those customer photos, because we probably get 4 people a week DMing us and saying, hey, do you work with influencers? I'm redecorating a room.
Right.
And depending on your brand, that might be a different platform. But I think Instagram is generally the center for influencer.
Yeah. And I would say, and of course, YouTube too, if you're doing like a step-by-step kind of process. Yeah. Blogs are still important. I would just put that out there because of the SEO value they bring to the table. So like, I know for our influencer programs, we work in travel and tourism, which is slightly different, but we do all of the social media, and Instagram is huge, but, those blog posts are really influential because people, when they're searching for something like, food in Galveston or something, you're gonna pull up one of our blog posts. So that's really important for the client. So I would say it depends on your where you're at, whether blogs are important or not in your strategy. But one of the things you talked about, which I think is really great. But before we go, I want to get to the elephant, which is about cost pricing. So like, how much would you pay like an influencer to run, like say an influencer that had 5,000 followers? I mean, would you pay them or just give them blinds, or what's your?
Yeah. So we always ask them, send us your rate sheet, let us know. And sometimes we've been surprised. There's been, mid-level people that have, 8 to 10,000 followers that are open to just doing product, or even some bigger partners that are open to just doing product. So you kind of never know. I always ask them, hey, what are you up for? And I will try to tell them up front, here's the retail value of the product that you're asking for. So they kind of know. But just to share some general prices, like, there's mid-level people that only charge like $200 to $300 to do a round of social, sometimes a blog post. On the high end, for a really big partner, we did like a series of 3 blog posts, several rounds of social for $15,000 in sponsorship fees. Obviously, that's really big, but it was over several months. But I'd say our average sponsorship fee is anywhere from $1,200 to, $300. So
Yeah.
it depends, but it can be really affordable. And everyone's budget's different, but
well, and you're also giving out, I mean, your product is not a cheap product.
Right.
I mean, honestly, like if you pull up any blinds or make, that's going to be an expensive product. So I think that's really crazy. So anyway, so the other thing I was going to ask you is about the benefits, the side benefits of having this. So one of the things I'm interested in is that we talked about a lot of these side benefits that came from having this influencer program in place that I think would be really interesting for people to hear about.
Yeah. So I'll just say, and a lot of you might be in this situation too, but our company as a whole and our leadership especially wasn't always bought into influencer. They thought, what is this like social media thing? Why do we need to pay people to talk about us? This is a waste of money, but there's other channels that are easier to track the ROI. And so a big way that we sold our team on this program is that there's so many fringe benefits that you can get from influencer programs. So for us, and I don't know how many other people this applies to, but photographing our products is really expensive. And so just being able to get a photo in a finished room of one of our products, it might cost us $5,000 for one photo in a professional studio where we have to fly somebody out, we have to set up the whole room. It's really expensive. So if in comparison, we can pay $100 or we can pay, $200 plus, one shade to somebody and we get 15 photos, that's worth a lot of money when we think about what it would cost us to shoot it at a studio. So photos and then video clips as well. Obviously, video clips are so valuable, even more expensive to shoot. We obviously repurpose photos a ton of places. We're pinning them for each influencer campaign. We are going in and creating a post about the room reveal on our blog. It's great for the SEO value on the other person's blog. If I can at all get a blog post, it's excellent. But when I'm posting about it in my social media, I'd much rather link back to our property where somebody can, click on the logo and go to our site and shop later on.
Yeah, and I love that too, because I think a lot of people overlook how important it is. So just giving people an idea how expensive it would be for you to hire photographers to go out and shoot all of these different locations, because it's different houses, different locations. It would be like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, right? So like out of your price range, probably even with as a corporate kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to think about the cost savings. And then talking about the video clips that we get, let me see if I can share my screen really quickly with you guys.
Yeah, that'd be great. We tested this, so we think this will work. So
I think I clicked the right thing.
No. Yeah, now you're going to have to move over to the thing that you're sharing.
Okay. So. Can you see this? Can you see YouTube?
No, we see...
Sorry, guys.
We tested it. We did.
Yeah. Anyway. Oh, here we go.
Now there you go. That looks like it. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
That's it.
So what we've done, I don't think you'll be able to hear the audio on this, which is fine, but whenever somebody posts about us on Instagram stories, we take all of the clips, not for every single person, but we take all the clips and cut it together as a little video review documenting their progress with us and put it on YouTube. And we optimize, the title and the description so that if somebody's searching for, blackout woven wood shades, this is going to come up and it's going to look really authentic. So that's one way we've repurposed content. If you guys can see this other tab, we've also taken a lot of our influencer clips and made little compilation ads.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
These have done really well for us on YouTube. This is something you could even run on TV, and that is a heck of a lot cheaper than doing a whole TV shoot. And this comes off as really authentic um, for showing real customer rooms and quotes.
Right.
So
And then it's not like, and it doesn't look so like picture perfect, which is actually good because that gets that more authentic feeling. Like these are people that are using these items. I think that's great.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So then you'll run ads against them. So see, that's awesome. So take notes on that, guys, because this is so good because that is how you can get content created for your brand really on a discount in some ways. And you put that in the contracts, right? How does that work in the contracts?
Sorry, as far as rights to use this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, there's some people that have limitations. Sometimes they'll say like, you can only use this for 3 months, which is fine. And we'll just make note of that. We'll schedule things out and then kind of put it in a special folder where our photos and videos are to say, don't use moving forward. But during those 3 months, we try to get it on the blog, get it on Pinterest, like get it everywhere that we can, and then just let it live on. But with most people, we try to get full rights and say, we can use these photos however we want. There was a situation, we try to be courteous to people. There was a situation where we were taking some of our audio clips from people's Instagram stories and using them as little testimonial clips in our radio ads. And this is something that people might not expect us to use their content for. So the people that we chose to feature their clips, I did email them and give them a heads up to say, hey, based on our
so they
contract,
don't hear themselves on the radio and not know it's coming. Yeah,
exactly.
I get it.
To say, hey, we have rights to do this, but we want to just make sure it's okay. Another thing I always do is, I know people are so sensitive about their kids being used in ads. If I'm like, even if we had rights to use a photo and they were totally fine with it, anytime I reshare that for like a blog post that's unrelated to their direct campaign, say, hey, we're featuring this photo that has your kid in it. I just want to double check that you're cool with it. It's going to show up in ads and other places. So
yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, and I think the heads up is good, and also making sure it's in the contract exactly how things are going to be used.
Yeah.
Some people will do it just like use it with attribution, like always tag me.
Right.
Some will be like those things. And you're not. Are you actually capturing their actual video from them? Are you getting the actual file from them? Are you downloading it, or are you just sharing? How are you doing that?
So whenever we run a campaign with someone, it doesn't always happen, but we really, really push for it, and Aspire IQ does a good job helping us with this. But we always ask for we want to approve the files before they go out. And so that's a good way to get them up front. But if somebody happens to share an Instagram story or they post their blog post, I'll email them after the fact and say, hey, can you send me a Dropbox with all the high-res photos? Can you send me the full files of your Instagram stories? But the great thing about Aspire IQ, whether you're using it self-service or like we are as an agency, whenever someone tags you and they're a partner, it automatically pulls in the full files. So that's really nice. It's kind of a database.
Oh, wow. That's really, really cool. So that's where you're keeping instead of like Dropbox or something, you're keeping it all in Aspire. That's right. Really cool.
And before we had the tool, we just had folders on our server.
So do you do the contracting and stuff through the tool Aspire IQ too? Like everything happens through there and the payment and everything?
Yes. Yeah,
that's good.
We do.
That's helpful. It's a little bit of an expensive tool, guys. So unless you're like a big brand, you probably
absolutely
aren't going to be able to afford it.
And like I said, we didn't do this until we were 7 years into our program. So I'm not saying there's other tools you can research. There's ones where, it's just a database to search through people. So there's definitely levels. I'm not saying it's
for paying influencers, we use on our side, because I'm more of a startup than you are. We're using HelloSign, which is like a really nice little contracting thing, and then that they can sign online. And then we also use Gusto, which is a HR kind of program, so they can just sign themselves up, and we hook it up with our bank account, and then it can kind of we could pay them, and it actually issues the 1099s at the end of the year. It does all of the work. It does all of that work for us. So if you're a smaller brand, that might be a way to go. A lot of people, I use it for my staff too, but if you just were doing a bigger influencer program, it could be a good tool for that too, I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So for paying them and stuff. So that being said, with all of this content and all this stuff that you have, how are you going to, let me just go down our list here, make sure that we get it. You use them for ads, repurposing, endorsement value, quotes.
Yeah.
So where do you keep all this? You were talking about Pinterest too. I actually would like to hear how you're using Pinterest in this case.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys haven't seen these reports, I've been watching a ton. If you're not following Pinterest business right now, they have great email newsletters. They have a blog. They've been posting their webinars on YouTube. I highly recommend you watch those. They've been coming out with the best social media COVID research that I've seen recently. So highly recommend. But Pinterest is actually seeing record traffic. I mean, you could expect this with all the parents looking for homeschooling activities, recipes, redecorating your home.
Even travel, honestly, because our travel influencers are seeing huge spikes in their Pinterest traffic right now, which is interesting, but makes sense because you can't get out of the house. So why not put together your vision board or your dreams for the future, right?
And that's some things that Pinterest has been saying. They have these stages that they're talking about through this crisis where we're entering the stage where people are kind of over it and they're planning for the future, for the wedding that got postponed, for the travel that's going to be later on, kind of dreaming about the future. So I think it's right on track. But to go back to influencer, Pinterest is a great spot. We haven't run a ton of campaigns with Pinterest influencers. I'm definitely open to that. And I think kind of in the way you get SEO value with a blog, you get Pinterest SEO if you have somebody pin your product or pin their blog post so it shows up in search. But we do a ton of repurposing there. So I think customer photos, more lifestyle photos versus something that's super staged or like just your product on a white background, those do a lot better on Pinterest. So we schedule those out like crazy and just build out our boards with all that stuff.
No, that's really good. How do you know that if it's working though? How do you measure your success with influencers?
Yeah, absolutely. So this has evolved a ton over the years. Like I said, at the beginning, we were kind of having to really make a story for the program and get creative with our reporting. Which, as marketers, you guys all know how that goes. So at the beginning, we were really talking about the value of the assets that we were getting in comparison to photo shoots. We're looking at engagement that the influencers were getting on their channels. And then now it's all about, the clicks to our site and revenue. And so revenue is so hard to track with influencers, but I think we've really found a way in. It's still not perfect, but we this year just started having our influencers use affiliate links, which obviously is super prevalent across the influencer space.
Yeah, very much.
In fashion, but if you're not in like a fashion or beauty brand, you may not have ever thought about trying it. And it was kind of off of our radar as well. But there's a ton of home decor people that are sharing affiliate links too, and a million other industries too. But the great thing about affiliate links is that the influencers are motivated to share it even after your campaign. So every time for us that they post about that room, they're going to share all the sources with their affiliate links so that they get a commission. And we haven't seen the commissions blow our budget in any way. It's a small percentage.
Do the affiliate links also give them some kind of discount for their customer too, or no?
It doesn't inherently do that, but we've also tested that as well. For the people that have asked, I think that's a great way to track revenue is give somebody a promo code to share with their followers.
And how has that gone? I mean, have you been able to drive sales with that and show that?
Yes. And I think we kind of, before we were using affiliate links, we kind of guessed how many sales we might be seeing from these people, or like looked at clicks and did a lot of manual stuff to see if someone had purchased. But now we're actually able to track those numbers, which is huge. The other thing we do, and I don't know how everybody's site is set up, but we have a little drop down when people check out on our site that says, where did you hear about us? And people are able to say, from Instagram, from a radio host, and so if you can add that to do another piece of the puzzle, it really is helpful.
That's actually really great. And that's for customers, right? Like when somebody purchases. Right. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
So we combine those two numbers and we're able to see our revenue overall.
That's great. No, that's great. Because if you can start showing how a marketing program, provides revenue, that's when the game changes with senior management.
Exactly.
So it at least like offsets the cost or even makes money. That's great.
Right. And our business is not super excited about like awareness driving and branding campaigns.
I'm sure they're not
either. But I think, if you can kind of show that, yes, this is driving awareness and we're getting those assets, but then also having the other piece of this is really driving revenue, and kind of place it all together.
Yeah. So somebody asked if blinds.com is seeing a decline in orders due to people afraid of having people come into their homes. The answer is what?
Yeah. So our business model, we're all online. So you're able to shop and just have something shipped to your home and install it yourself. As I said at the beginning, which some of you may have missed, we have just the way our marketing has shifted with COVID. We had a new measure and install program where you could have a local installer come to your house. Mm-hmm. And so we've pulled back on that messaging. We've had a lot of our influencers put caveats on their videos to say, hey, the blinds.com installer was great, but we filmed this before social distancing was happening. It's not available in most areas right now. So we've really downplayed that, but we haven't seen a decline overall, but we just have kind of shifted our messaging.
Yeah, absolutely. And Gabrielle asked what checkout cart is good, but I don't think that probably you can know that because they have this whole thing built into their system. And this is not small time e-commerce. Like blinds.com is kind of a giant brand. So I don't know. Somebody in the chat might know better on a checkout cart, and it depends on what you're checking out from. So if what are you selling? There's a lot of checkout carts out there, so it depends. Sorry about that. And now I'm going to kind of open it up to questions because we are kind of at the end of what we were supposed to definitely cover. So could you guys put your questions in the chat and then we can answer them. But while we're waiting for them to do that, because there's a bit of a lag, I just want to hear about like any of the efficiencies you have right now for running a program like this, especially during this COVID time. And have you backed off of using a lot of influencers? Like where's your program right now?
Right. So we actually haven't backed up at all. Like I said at the beginning, we're lucky that we're a business that was already set up for e-commerce and zero contact sales. Now, if you're a, TJ Maxx or Home Goods, like that's a totally different scenario. And you might have to pause your whole program until you're able to get e-commerce in place and have influencers shift their messaging to talk about, shopping online or whatever your new process is, or, curbside pickup. But as far as efficiencies, like I said, we haven't pulled back at all. And I think one thing to think about is a lot of influencers, they've had campaigns canceled because brands are pausing everything or scrambling. And so a lot of them are really hurting for paying their bills. And so we wanted to continue to support our partners as long as we're able to and keep these campaigns going. And I think the good thing is that the landscape has kind of quieted down. So if we're able to make our messaging appropriate, we, there's less noise out there and we're able to reach more people. the other thing is if you're looking to get into influencer, this might be a great time because, like I said, there's less campaigns going on. And the other thing is that you might be able to get some better rates. You might be able to test, and because people, have less going on, they might, be reducing their rates, and you could do a little test for cheaper and see how it works.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's great. So Travis actually just asked a question similar to that, which is funny. It's a refined question to what we've already answered, Travis. So we'll answer it because, and Travis has some online e-commerce kind of like services, Swift filings, and you can get trademark engine. So he's got some stuff that's for trademark and other kinds of things, getting your LLC in place for your business. Very cool stuff. But how do you test the waters? Because you started by testing the waters. I mean, they have a real mature program now, 7 years old. It started really small. They're now able to tie revenue to the program through all kinds of great, things like codes and other things. But how do you test that right now? How would you do that?
I think a real safe way to do it is kind of like I was saying at the beginning. Take a look at people who are already tagging you in photos on Instagram, who are already talking about you. Do some social listening and see who's out there as a super fan, and see if you could maybe donate product. Maybe they're such a fan that for us, that next window that they wanted to cover. Or it might be, they're an athlete and you're a shoe company and, they needed a new pair of shoes anyway, and they're willing to talk about you and get something for free. So you can try it. Like I said, a lot of people want payment, but if you find that super fan as a first test, it might be a little bit easier. And then those people, because they're already authentically talking about you, it's more likely that it's going to perform well rather than this like somebody with a ton of followers that's super expensive that you don't even know if their followers are interested in your product.
Right. And I know Travis, just because I know him, I have one, but he's got an affiliate link. So I have his affiliate link. And so when I'm recommending him to other people, I'll hand out that affiliate link, although I'm kind of early in the affiliate linking stuff. So I'm starting to learn how to use affiliate links properly in my marketing and messaging, because I recommend tools all the time, like in my business. So for example, AppSumo reached out to me recently because I talk about AppSumo like all the time, and they saw it on somewhere, probably on Twitter or somewhere. And they reached out to me and said, hey, can we set you up a dashboard of tools that you love to use from AppSumo? And then we will, you can let your audience know about it that way. And I thought, well, that's fine. And I also set up Amazon because people are always asking me about my lighting setup and my tech. So I set up an Amazon affiliate board. So, I mean, that's another way to do it is like, I think these affiliate links and setting up some sort of page or marketing platform for those people to like point people to, and then but then you're selling them. So what I found out as a marketer myself is that when you send other people out to sell your product, they don't know a lot of the things that you know, right? So they kind of stumble and falter. So you have to put in a lot of things in place for them to be able to really market your product. Have you guys done a lot of that too? Like, because you're just sending them blinds. So are you also sending them help to like, because I mean, they don't know the blind market. They just know their people in their house.
Right, exactly. And so, I mean, one thing kind of on the flip side of that, it's really interesting as a marketer to see how somebody else talks about your experience and your product. You'll get quotes from people that you're so inside baseball, like you always talk about your experience the same way, that you'll get some completely other option and way that you can market your product. But separate from that, the way our process works, we have our top designer that I've buddied up with for this program. She works with each influencer to place their order and kind of walks them through the experience, make sure that they know all the options, and upgrades that they could try, really make sure that it's super smooth. But the agency, and this could just be the email you send to the partner, with the guidelines for how they should talk about your product. We have like 5 or 6 talking points or 5 or 6 points of the experience we want them to talk about. Super high level. Like for us, it's talk about the fabric samples you got, talk about how the installation process was. We don't say like, talk about how, a script where it's like how easy it was to install with no
Well,
tools, or
they're more like prompts, right? So you're giving
exactly,
them prompts so that they have something. I
exactly,
mean, I know that influencers actually appreciate that because they're
yeah,
like, what do you want me to, like what's the most important thing about your product or your service? And so having those points in place is helpful, I think.
exactly. And so we give them really high level talking points. And the way it works is they can choose, we say like choose 3 of these 8 prompts. So they can choose what's the most relevant for them. And then they can throw in other stuff as well. And because we see it before it goes out, we hardly ever have to make edits, but
Hmm.
we can kind of make sure they're not saying something that's inaccurate about our product. Or, if you work in like a highly controlled industry, there may be very specific wording that you don't want associated with your brand. So you can kind of weed that out at
Yeah.
the beginning.
That's a great answer. So Brian asked, if any of the changes you're making in response to the crisis, will you be keeping any of the new changes? Do you see any of them sticking as part of your strategy?
Yeah, so I didn't touch on this yet, but just in our social marketing in general, because we're not able to, shoot photos at our office like we normally are to do social content, we have shifted to what we're calling AGC, or Associate Generated Content. And you guys might be doing this too. I know a lot of companies are. We're using our employees, we're turning them into influencers. And
That's cool.
so we like polled a bunch of our employees to find out what are cool projects that you can do around the house with your kids. What home improvement projects can you do with your kids? And rounded those up into a post. We had, because our team worked from home a lot before this anyway, we thought, hey, they're experts, and so we had 5 or 6 of them record tips on working from home on video and shared that out on YouTube. So there's a million different ways you can do that. We also, on the influencer side, we wanted to write a blog post about home improvement projects you can do with things you already have at home, without leaving the house. And so I sent an email to about 15 of our influencers that we've worked with over the past couple years, and said, here's 3 questions. Tell me what you're working on now. What are some links to blog posts that people could use for projects right now? And rounded that up into a post, and credited those people. So I think that's something we for sure want to keep doing. I think showing your employees really humanizes the brand, and it's less work for you if you can kind of outsource stuff and turn your employees into stars. So
Yeah, I agree. I think that's great. And I know a lot of companies are trying to do that in general. So I think that this is a good time to test out your employees as ambassadors. I love that idea so much. And you called it associated generated content instead of user generated content or influencer generated content. um, we love our acronyms, don't we? Anyway, it's awesome. Okay, awesome. So is there anything else that you want to share with us about this before we kind of wrap it up? I want to make sure we have some time to do our breakout sessions. You might end up in a breakout session, so you might get to talk to Ashley directly, but or Abigail directly. I'm sorry.
One other thing,
Get
if
Ashley here.
you had to pause a lot of your campaigns right now, one thing that we've been doing a whole lot is using this downtime to take all that influencer content and repurpose it. We have a huge backlog of blog posts we need to write, of photos we need to pin, of these Instagram stories we need to turn into videos. So we've been going through all of that. So it might be something that you could add to your list now if you have a little bit more time on your hands.
So the reason I said Ashley is because she just commented. She said, I think with some of the economic hardships right now, we might see a shift back to DIY versus hiring a pro. I think so too. I think it's everybody's seeing like, hey, we can do this, right?
Yeah. And Ashley works on my team, so I'm glad she brought that up. Thanks, Ashley. One thing we've been kind of toying around is, for those of you that were around in 2008 with the economic crash, that's where we saw all of these home improvement bloggers pop up, because people, maybe didn't have a job, or just wanted a place to talk to their friends, or needed to do home improvement and renovations on the cheap. So we're kind of keeping an eye on it to see, just for our niche, if that return back to inexpensive DIY projects and home improvement comes back. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think it will. I mean, I think that, some people at least started some projects. So for at least the next 6 months or so, because usually when you start a home improvement project, it doesn't just take a month. I mean, it depends how big it is, right? Because then you change one thing, you're like, oh, I need now my cabinets are changed. I need like new countertops, or I
Yeah,
need, yeah. So I think it's
so.
interesting. So Loida, I think that you wanted to say something to us. I want to bring you on, but I don't know if you are like camera ready. So I'm going to request your audio and request your camera. You can choose whether you want to do it, but you have to let me do it, or let us get you. So let's see if you get in here. Hello, are you there? Hello, Loida. Okay, I don't hear her. So let me just go over here and tell you what's going on. So Houston Chronicle is having several really like seminars for small businesses over the next month or so. Loida, who's on the call here somewhere, she sent this to me this morning. And of course, I am now like trying to find it. So I was hoping she would tell us, but maybe she'll put a link in. But we will put this information up on the page. But they're free webinars from the Houston Chronicle and their marketing and ad staff, because they have an agency, internal agency. So it's great information that you could probably get. Oh, she tried. Yeah, I'm sorry, hun. We'll try again. I'll give you one more chance to see what happens. And then, but Lloyd, if you could put in the chat here, like where people can go to get information about that, that would be great. She said, yes, 4 days to choose from. And I don't have the flyer in front of me right now, so can't tell you all of them, but I read them earlier this morning, and they were really interesting. So very marketing focused. I'll send them out on the page. So if we can get there. That being said, I'd like to try something different and new, which is a little networking thing. So I'm going to do some breakout rooms for you. And the way it's going to work is I'm just going to put you guys all in there. And I don't know how it's going to fall, but if you get into your group, you're going to need to unmute yourself to talk to each other. I think I'll give you 3 or 4 minutes, and then we'll come back, close it out, and go from there. So hopefully that sounds good to everyone. I'm trying to get the few of us that are left in here, because I know some people fled immediately. Don't flee. It'll be fun. Let's try it. So I'm going to randomize you out into rooms. It looks like there's about 3 people per room or so. And I'm going to start it, and then I'll bring us back, and then we'll finish up. Does that sound good? Okay, here we go. There may be something you have to agree to on their screen. So let's see what happens. I think you and I are the only ones that didn't get thrown in.
Okay.
We're in our own group.
Great. You
did a great job.
This was so fun.
Yeah, I thought so too. There's only one person in one of these rooms. That's not good.
Oh, it's filling up now, I think. Oh, but yeah.
Hi, here's my main room. We'll see how it goes. We go from room to room to room. So I went sharing.
No, I can't hear you right now. I did a second ago.
Okay, I just actually did it. So I rejected everybody back, guys. So I'm sorry if I cut off your conversations. I know some of you were kind of finishing up. We lost a lot of people anyway because it's kind of a weird experience. So I just want to make sure that we test it a few times and see how it goes. I know that I can unmute some of you now too. I think I'd have to do it. But maybe we'll do that here in the main group since there's so few of us left. But Loida had these Houston Chronicle things left here. I'm going to put them in the bottom here, a link to those things, and I'll put them on the website too. I mean, on the Facebook page. Let's see. I don't know if we can. Can I unmute people? I don't know. Katie, you'd have to help me with this. Maybe I can unmute all. I can unmute all, or mute all, unmute all. I think I just muted everybody who wants to be unmuted. Does somebody want to try to talk? I don't know. Trying things, guys. Yeah. Well, Katie. Hi.
Hi. I just had to click start audio and video.
So like if anybody else wants to join the little Brady Bunch, let's see how many of us, I don't know how many of us can fit on here, but I'd love to see who's left. There's only 8 of us left anyway. So I know Loida can't do it because she's on a corporate IT. She's got corporate IT stuff going. So the Chronicle didn't let her start her video or her audio. Understandably, I guess they're trying to do it. Thank you, Loida, for posting it to the page. That will be super helpful. Thanks. Oh, you don't see the icon for audio or video. It's up on the right-hand side. You'll see yourself, I think. Yeah?
Yes. Right above, if you see the chat window, there's a box that says participants. And then on your name, it has the little microphone in the videos. So
and if you don't see your name, there's a little caret. And if you just click the caret, it'll expand the window. Boom. Like that. So, awesome. Yeah. So yeah, she and Ashley and Travis were having a talk. I'm sorry, guys, for interrupting you. I didn't mean to, but it was hard to know when to come back.
I'm also moderator, so that might be why it lets me into the room.
Instead of on the yeah, I would think that I think I'm allowed to give people. Let me see, Ashley, if I can give you. I said I requested your audio, and I
there we go.
Requested your video. So maybe I have to request them one by one.
Got it.
So.
Hey, Ashley.
If you're somebody like Travis, I'm going to try you and Geeka too. And let me see. Let's see how many of us we can get on here just for fun. Because I need to test this anyway. So you guys are my testing friends. I'm going to actually stop the recording because I'm not going to record this.